At the end of each work day, I plan for the next day. As a staff, what I learned the most was just how the industry works, how public accounting works, like what exactly are we here to do?
So Sharon, I'm very happy to have you on my podcast today and to discuss about your CPA journey with my audience. First and foremost, Sharon, can you just share with us why did you choose accounting major at the very beginning when you start college?
Yeah, of course. My story is, I want to say it's kind of interesting or strange, but when I was in high school, I was reading a novel, a fictional book. It was John Grisham. It's called The Firm. And so in that book, there was a person who was an attorney and also a CPA, and he was helping like the mob, like the mafia, with like money laundering and like things like that. And I was just so fascinated by how could someone like have this opportunity to do something so complex like money laundering and not get caught.
When you were in college, I believe that you probably went through a lot of interviews for internship, and it knows that you got accounting intern before you got an internship at EY, right?
Maryland is, I want to say, has a top business school. University of Maryland has top business school. So we have a ton of like big four firms recruiting from the University of Maryland. We also have mid-tier firms also recruiting from the University of Maryland. So I had a ton of options and I did pretty well with my GPA. So I had a ton of these firms that I had the options of interviewing with.
So you mentioned that you start building connection and relationship with EY when you were in college. How did you do it as a student?
So a lot of these big four firms, and that's a great question. A lot of these big four firms, and even till today, because I work heavily with recruiting, a lot of these firms would go to campus. They have events, and typically they would have like professionals just like me, like attend these events for the sole purpose of meeting students, connecting with students, sharing our experience in public accounting.
That's interesting when you mention about EY only. What about Deloitte, KPMG, PwC? Did you connect with them and you couldn't feel like there's a strong connection with those big four firms?
It's not that I didn't connect with them. I felt like when I connected with people at EY and I built those relationships, I didn't feel like I wanted to explore others, right? I felt like this was working well. So like building relationships, like, it takes time. It's a two-way street. It takes time and getting to know someone, being vulnerable, sharing more about yourself, asking questions. And I was like, okay, I met my people here. I'm just going to like stay and just keep building with this firm.
You mentioned about the CPA journey. I'm so curious because you also have a YouTube channel about sharing about CPA exam experience as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel called the CPA Experience where I share with like aspiring CPAs how to plan for the CPA, how to stay focused while you're studying, and how to just like motivate yourself throughout that studying timeline.
Can you just share with us a few tips and advice how you study and how you pass for the CPA exam and how you motivate yourself if you do not pass in the first time?
Okay, so what I would say, maybe I'll give a backstory of how I even had the idea of taking the CPA. So when I started accounting, I knew that you could study accounting and just like not get the CPA, right? Or you could study accounting and pursue the CPA and become certified in your profession. And that's a certification that's very well respected.
And you also mentioned that having a plan, that I know that for a lot of CPA study material, they already have a very specific plan with the study material. Do you recommend students to use that plan, or do you recommend them to still reach out to someone else to assist them with like coming up with the plan?
I think it depends. I think it really does depend. If the standard plan that comes with your CPA study material is tailored to you and tailored to the way you study and how you think you're going to approach the study, so by all means follow that plan.
And you mentioned that you pass all these 4 CPA sections before you start full-time job, right?
Yes.
How did you feel when you start the first job knowing that you already passed all these 4 sections?
I felt so liberated. I felt so free. I felt like I could just go into my career and just give my career my all. Like, because I really wanted to approach public accounting as a career, not as a job.
And when you start the first job at EY, how did you feel about starting a full-time job comparing with working as an intern before that?
I was excited because with my internship, I think provided me with an idea of what to expect. Because like as an intern, you're going to work at a certain time and you leave at a certain time, which is typical of like a full-time job. Granted, you only do it for like 6 weeks.
So what is the best thing in tax that make you decide to stay in the whole career without trying, like maybe you may want to check if you like audit, if you like advisory, something like that?
I think the reason I chose tax was because I knew the service line at EY and the service line I currently work in. I actually do tax and I do audit.
One thing I want to ask is that you moving from tax staff all the way to tax senior manager within
Yeah,
the same firm for last, I would say 11 years. Is that
yeah,
right?
11
11 years.
years. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So you have been going through a lot of milestones in your career. And each milestone probably give you a lot of feelings, a lot of different experience about like what's the next level, what the next step in my career. So let's go from very beginning, from tax staff when you just start at EY. What did you learn the most before you become a tax senior?
I think as a staff, what I learned the most was just how the industry works, how public accounting works. Like what exactly are we here to do? At the simplest form, we're serving clients and we're building people. That's the simple thing that we do. We serve clients and help clients function better and we develop our people.
Yeah, and so when you got promoted from staff to a senior, what did the most change? What did the most difference from the senior level to a staff level that you experienced?
So as a senior, you're now in a position where you now have a team, or at least you have a staff that you're coaching, right? So you're trying to mentor the staff and you're also reporting up to a manager. And in some instances, you also have interactions with the client.
So, and then you move from senior to manager. It's like a huge difference. I feel like from staff to senior, there's a difference there, but not that much. But
Mm-hmm.
from senior to manager, that's a huge jump there because now you have to wear all different hats with managing staffs and also managing clients and also developing business, and anything come up will fall on your plate. So when you got promoted as a task manager, how did you deal with all new responsibilities on your plate?
I would say manager year was a little bit overwhelming for me because I felt like at that time, yeah, like you said, it's you have a lot on your plate. Now you have a team of not just only staff but of seniors, and even though you're still developing yourself technically and building yourself technically, you're also responsible for making sure your senior and your staff is developing technically as well.
How did you stay so organized as a task manager? Can you share with me a specific tips and advice for that organization level?
Yeah, sure. And I still do this to till this day. So I would say like at the end of each work day, I plan for the next day. I don't just wait until the next day comes around and I'm like, oh, what do I have to do?